Hello and welcome to Miss Charlotte Astrology. I'm Miss Charlotte, a full-time working astrologer, and on this channel I analyze the astrological charts of public figures, very often celebrities, and today I will be looking at Sean Diddy Combs, formerly known as Puff Daddy. I'll be looking at Puff Daddy's astrological chart. The reason why is because today news just broke that his ex-partner of, I think, 10 years, Cassie, who was a pop star in the 2000s, she's accusing him of some pretty heinous sex crimes. I don't really want to get into it. It makes me sick, but go check it out. It's awful. And if these alleged crimes actually occurred, then I hope she squeezes as much money out of him as possible. I hope she takes him to the cleaners. And you know what? I would go as far to say I hope he is given a criminal trial if these things are true. Because then, if these things are true, he's a very dangerous man. So I'm looking at his chart. It's the first thing I did. I looked up the transits for today, and I wanted just to tell you guys what I saw. Before I get into it, I just want to let you know I have 50% off my recorded readings. I'm going to get rid of that soon. And very often when I do a special sale like that, I don't do it again. So 20-minute reading is a recording of my voice, of me tearing up your chart, me analyzing your chart. Very often I go over the 20-minute time allowance because I can't shut the fuck up. Sometimes I just have to put my 2 cents in, don't I? So if you would like to order a recorded reading for 50% off, I'll link it below. You actually carve out a window of time in my schedule for me to complete that reading. And then within 24 hours of the specified time that you choose, you will get your reading via email as an MP3 file. Okay? So do it now because I'm going to get rid of it. All right, let's get into it. Let's have a look at his chart. The first thing that I noticed about Sean's chart is that his North Node lies in Pisces. So, and I have this as well. People with a North Node in Pisces, or indeed the 12th house, their destiny is to learn to find God. And finding God can be a very painful experience. It can be very liberating. It can be, it depends on what your karma is, but the North Node in Pisces is about letting go of control. It can often mean that, if you're like me, retiring from a very, very chaotic, stressful job. South Node in Virgo. So North Node in Pisces is the embrace of God and the, letting go of control. And it's also the sign, Pisces is the sign of homelessness, loss, disgrace, sacrifice. And that is where he's meant to go. And the fact that his North Node is not aspected positively by any of his personal placements, really, or maybe there's one, tells me that he's all alone out here. He's all alone out here. What's the thing that gets him to find God? What is the thing that's going to get him to, relinquish control? What's the thing that might send him to disgrace? Let's have a look at this little guy here. Okay, so this is Lilith. Okay, so Lilith is the dark, destructive feminine. She is the angry, abused wife. She is vengeful. She has been hurt and she wants blood. Lilith in Cancer, so issues with women, trouble with the mother. I don't know what house this is in. It would tell me more, but there are some wounds with the mother, maybe a destructive mother, or just destructive relationships with women, an ex-wife, an abused ex-wife who has left the Garden of Eden and would prefer to rule in the wasteland, the hellish landscape, than actually stay in this patriarchal Garden of Eden where she is in servitude. That angry bitch, that's at 26 degrees in Cancer, and that would make it a trine with the North Node in Pisces at 19 degrees. Even though there's no big blue line joining up these two points in the chart, that is a trine with an orb of 7 degrees. It's a big orb, but it still counts as a trine. So basically, his toxic relationships with women, or his mother, or some trauma with women, maybe even trauma that he inflicted on women, is the thing that sends him to his destiny. A crazy bitch ex-wife. ex-girlfriend. Another thing that I noticed aspected that North Node was this 27-degree Neptune. And Neptune actually governs Pisces. So if you look at this, there's an orb of 8 degrees, still a big orb. I know there's no big blue line joining up that North Node with that Neptune, but that is a trine. So that's the planet of loss. That is the planet of spirituality and God and addiction. So whatever he was addicted to, wherever he was lacking boundaries, wherever he was really messy and doing illegal things, is sending him to this very sacrificial energy, this very painful North Node that is not aspected by anything very benefic, really. Lilith, these 2 points, which you can see the trine between Lilith and Neptune here. These are malefic energies. When you have a malefic grand trine, and usually grand trines are very positive because it shows ease, it shows talents and all those things, but when they're malefic, sometimes it's painful. Like your bad behavior or something that is even potentially out of your control is going to send you into your destiny. So it's not always easy. Let's have a look. Ooh. Another thing I missed. My apologies. Sun at 12 degrees in Scorpio. So the sun is the ego, expression, creativity, right? It's your unique identity. The sun is actually in a trine with the North Node at 19 degrees in Pisces. Even so, yes, another 7-degree orb, but it's still a trine. Even though there's no blue line, it's still a trine. The ego, his inflated ego and his nasty behavior is sending him to his destiny. The sun is also occupying the same sign as Neptune. So that is a person that lacks boundaries. I know it's not a conjunction, but when I see Neptune in the same sign as the sun, that is an ego that knows no boundaries. In the sign of Scorpio, that's potentially some very dark behaviors as well, secret behaviors. He's a very introverted person. I think when he's in an environment that he can control, where he is comfortable, he's the loudest person in the room. But when he's in an environment that he can't control, where he doesn't know a lot of people, he's the quietest. He's an interesting person, that's for sure. Now, he's a Scorpio sun. What rules Scorpio? Pluto. And where is that? That's in Virgo, not too far away from his moon and his south node. So I talked about the North Node being the energy that you have to embrace, and that's like your soul's evolution. It's your destiny, right? The South Node is the energy of your previous incarnation that you bring into this incarnation at the very early stages, right? So, yes, so your past life energy that you bring into your childhood when you're reborn as a new person, if you believe all that, okay? So his South Node actually does lie in a conjunction with Pluto. It also is not lying too far away from the moon. When I see Pluto and the moon in the same sign or together, that is a transformative home. The death and the rebirth of the mother in the home. There could be it looks very difficult. I'll say that. A very difficult upbringing where he was bore witness to or experienced abuse. Pluto is a sexual planet. It's a planet of trauma. It's not too far away from the moon that represents the domestic sphere. So abuse, sexual trauma in the domestic sphere, in the home. A mother that has a very hard time. Maybe she is abusive herself, or she is abused, and maybe it's both of those things. But he saw a lot of things, and it's this exposure to abuse and this difficult childhood that has him repeating it in his own home with his own family, potentially when he's an adult. So he is repeating these same patterns. So whatever he's doing behind closed doors is going to take him here. So this does not look easy. It does not look easy at all. Now, let's have a look at his Venus. Venus at 22 degrees in a conjunction with Jupiter. So with Venus in Libra, he is both of those things where, you know, he's quite idealistic and he is quite romantic. But on the other side, he wants a cooperative partnership. If I give and I'm generous with you, you got to give and be generous to me. You know, so if we look at the situation with Cassie, maybe he was part of, you know, making her successful in her pop career. Maybe he gave her lots of clothes. Maybe he paid for her nails and her hair, and maybe, you know, he was generous in that he gave her a lot of material possessions, but at the same time he was expecting a lot back in return. And maybe that's the very reason why a lot of people turn on him. He gives a lot only to get a lot. He's got a T-square with his Venus and his Jupiter. This I'm looking around and I don't see any positive aspects with that very crippling 22 degrees Venus, kill or be killed 22 degrees. Relationships go sour really quickly. They're really, really good, but when they're not, they're really, really bad. Yeah, no positive aspects with that Venus. A very generous heart, but there's a catch. There's some kind of clause in the contract. I'm being literal and I'm being figurative here. Mars and Venus squared. So you see the big red line between this 29 degree Capricorn Mars that squares off with his Venus. So Mars is the phallus. It's the dick, right? It's your sexual desires. It is your impulses and your urges, right? And Venus is your harmonious relationships. So they both govern sexuality, but obviously with Venus being the feminine embodiment of that and Mars being the masculine, those two things don't get along. When he is in his Mars, when he is impulsive, when he's being hedonistic, and a Mars in Capricorn, even though it's exalted, it can be incredibly hedonistic. Incredibly. I mean, it's the sign of the devil. When he is being sexually hedonistic, especially, he breaks his own heart. Square with Venus, loses friendships, loses lovers, reputation sucks. He even potentially feels really bad about himself, like he has a lot of insecurities around his sexuality, especially him being in the generation of Chiron in Aries. So people born in the late 60s and the early 70s, mid 70s even, they have this Chiron in Aries, and the men that are born under that Chiron transit are incredibly insecure about their sexuality. Like when they get a divorce, they build rocket ships to Mars, or them, you know, like into space. Like, you know who I'm referencing. Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, they have I think they both have this placement. So yeah, when the Mars squares Venus, your dick is going to break your heart, because Venus is the heart. That's what I'm thinking. He was hedonistic. He was selfish. He would go after the money or the fame or the girls or maybe the boys. And that ended up wrecking his interpersonal relationships. Hence it breaks his own heart and breaks other people's heart. Not an easy placement. Mars is also big red line. Mars is squaring Mercury at 4 degrees in Scorpio. So Mars, the phallus, is at war with the mind. Mercury represents the intellectual nature, speech, and it's also a social planet that represents friends. So when he is hedonistic, when he's being selfish, when he's being impulsive, when he's really in his Mars, it squares off with that Mercury, and it can make him misjudge things. It can make him delusional. It can make him, he can make poor choices. He can lose touch with reality. His logic does no longer exists when he's in his Mars, right? So yeah, when you have a Mars square Mercury, it's the war between the phallus and the mind, the penis and the brain. They don't get along. So yeah, Mars and the heart, the dick and the heart, they don't get along. The dick and the brain, they don't get along. So this tells me he's an incredibly hedonistic person, a very money hungry, sex hungry person. And you can, like, I'm not saying that he's guilty of any of these crimes, but I think it does have a lot to do, like, I think he has been hedonistic, and that's the reason why he's getting in trouble at the very least. Also, does anyone know anything about his father? Saturn opposing the Sun and the Mercury. Did Dad go? Saturn is not aspecting that Sun and that Mercury very well. Is Dad gone? Was Dad abusive? Was Dad broke his heart? I don't know what house this is in, so I can't. It's a bit hard for me to read this, but it is forming a T-square with the Mars. There's some trauma with the father. Some trauma with the father, or with men, or with with authoritarian figures has messed up his sexuality and has messed up his self-esteem. That's how I'm reading it, but I don't know what houses these are in. Also, can we just go back to the Libra placements, because he has a stellium here. I know I'm going back and forth, but Uranus is the sign that rules over Aquarius, which is androgynous, which is very forward thinking. It's very alternative, right? It's odd. It's alien. That's what Uranus and Aquarius is about. It's occupying the same sign as Venus and Jupiter. So this tells me that he lives a very alternative lifestyle when it comes to romantic and platonic relationships. Something is, and I don't want to hate on people that are polyamorous or anything, but when you combine this energy with trauma as a child and like a really like a hurt ego or daddy issues, mommy issues like that, it doesn't look healthy. So yeah, when Uranus is occupying the same sign or is even a conjunction, which it's not here, when Uranus is near Venus, it's like someone who is very, someone who thinks outside the box in regards to sex and relationships. And that's me being very polite here. I'm wondering if he could be quite tyrannical and controlling in those relationships as well with this energy. Let's talk about the aspect. It's not a conjunction, but it's aspecting. Chiron is very, very close to that north node. So his destiny is to deal with that. You know, I was going to say if Chiron was in a conjunction with the north node, which it's not, it's just very close by. That's someone that's destined to heal. Alternatively, it's someone who's destined to kind of be in pain forever. You know, but you got to make it work for you. You've got to make it work for you if your destiny is to deal with your pain. So you guys out there, if you've got North Node in a conjunction with Chiron, your destiny is to deal with your pain, and that's by healing and helping others. I wish I knew what house this is in. I don't, but if he was going to turn lemons into lemonade, he's going to have to learn to help people and be selfless. And let go of this controlling, household that he has. Like he's very tyrannical in his household. I wouldn't be surprised if he is abusive with this. I wouldn't at all. Anyway, Mars in Capricorn at 29 degrees. That is someone who is very quiet with their goals, but who achieves them. Quietly powerful, but very powerful. Anyway, guys, I don't have his birth time. I wish I could read these in houses. It would tell me a lot more, but hopefully I hit the nail on the head with some things. If you know anything about Puff Daddy's life, can you please put in the comment section if anything I said aligns with anything that you know about him that is actual fact. Can you please let me know, because I don't know anything about this guy other than that his relationship with Justin Bieber was weird and his relationship with Usher is weird, and I'm being polite. I have some friends in America that are pretty well connected, and apparently, and this is from my friend who is in the Hollywood scene. Apparently he's done. Puff Daddy's done. So there might be some truth to these allegations. Who knows? Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. If you'd like to support me, please like, subscribe, and book a reading if you're interested in getting 50% off. But see you soon. Bye.